Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Firestorm MDI BFA in 8.3 Season 4. Maso and Hothead here. Yesterday we saw all 6 teams going through round 1 and 2 in both brackets. Today is the day when we'll finally be taking a look at the top 3 teams that managed to get to the finals. Upper finals will see the Pleats fighting against 3-2-1, while in the lower finals there is already the 12 IQ Rabbits team waiting for battle as well. The grand finals will feature a banning system. Each team will be able to ban one of the dungeon.
Hey everybody, morning or afternoon. So don't forget, we do have the Shadowlands launch tomorrow. We're really excited to get that Orbo server out there, get everybody into the new content. It's going to be really fun. If you haven't played Shadowlands, new seasonal affix coming in. Prideful, take out the pride, get a cool buff, helps your group out for a while. Make sure you get into the Discord, get on the website and check that out. If you have any questions, the admins in Discord would be happy to help you out.
And with that being said, let's check if the Pleats and 3-2-1 are ready to start. First dungeon we have is Shrine of the Storms. We've seen it yesterday a couple runs, and 3-2-1 already has some experience on it. So let's see what's gonna happen next. Teams are getting ready right now, almost ready to start.
All right, looks like they are in their dungeon, getting their keys in, getting ready for the first dungeon of the day. Really excited to see this. We saw 3-2-1 yesterday. They did great in time trials for Shrine. They did great yesterday in Shrine. Amazing run by them in here. They really proved they know what they're doing in this dungeon. And I'm excited to see Depletes try to beat that.
Yeah, it seems like they just started. And both teams probably will run down the stairs just like we saw yesterday, at least for 3-2-1. No idea what's gonna happen for the Pleats, but it totally looks like they're doing the same exact pull, same exact position for both teams. As a couple spiritualists that they actually have to make sure they interrupt every single time. You can see a Ring of Peace popping out for the Pleats, but there's a temper with the buff that reduces the damage taken by all the enemy adds. And Bykosher goes down. Same goes for Amadeus. It's probably going to be a team wipe unless the Hunters manage to feign death and get away from it.
Yeah, just like we saw yesterday, 3-2-1 coming out, showing they know what they're doing. They take that opening pull, absolutely dominate it, and they move straight on to their pull with Aquasur.
Totally a different story when it comes to 3-2-1, because they managed to just annihilate the first pack using Bloodlust, and now they're onto the first boss, which just procced the event and just waiting for the boss to start.
Yeah, you can see Matt and Hum there going ahead and building those festering wounds on those mobs, getting ready to pop all their cooldowns on this boss here. Yeah, they've already got him down, moving into that next phase. Like, they are burning this boss.
They still kept the Spiritualist alive, but no sign of the Gale Caller.
Yeah, it looks like they already downed him. As soon as Aquasur came up, they did everything, popped all their festering wounds, got their Festermite stacks, and kept going. We got Depletes over here. Bykosher, immediately, they just wipe again. They're going to have to probably do what we've seen teams do yesterday and go ahead and break that pull up.
And in the meantime, 3-2-1 just managed to go through phase 2, and they're on to phase 3, boss sitting at 10% already.
So it looks like those mobs on the side of Depletes didn't even reset. They're coming all the way back to the entrance.
Yeah, as you can see, the Templar still has the buff, so they have to eliminate that buff, otherwise it's gonna take too long for them to kill them. But Bykosher is really suffering right now. And he goes down again, Amadeus as well.
They need to go ahead and let those mobs reset, or they're just going to keep coming back. They need to let everybody die, reset that combat, and just go ahead and let those buffs fall off.
In the meantime, we can see 3-2-1 just pulling half of the dungeon at once just by using the Rune Carver.
Yeah, you can see 3-2-1 doing a great job of utilizing that rune. They showed us yesterday. They know how to place it, wait for him to cast it down, get it the mobs to where everybody can stand in it and not take damage from that quaking or that slam from those iron holes. Yeah, you can see Deplete here breaking this pull up. They did exactly what they should have. They let combat reset. They walk back out, and they're taking this a platform at a time, trying to take it slow, let their cooldowns come back, and work their way to Aquasur safely.
The fleet seems to really have a hard time right now. They're still onto the second pack. They actually had to split it. They're back onto the stacking position. Let's see if they can actually make it now with less ads, but they actually really need to interrupt all the spiritualists, otherwise it's over. Same goes for Kushik, just dies again.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's taking these guys out in this pull here. Looks like the water blast. Those casts are getting out. They got to make sure they're getting stuns out, interrupts out. These mobs don't play around. They hurt bad, and if we're not getting those interrupts out, then you're just going to keep taking those hits, and especially as a warrior tank, that's not something you can afford.
In the meantime, we just witnessed 3-2-1 pulling all the ads on top of the boss, just using all that DK power right now, annihilating the one of the first bosses. It's Faye, and then still Ironhold, still alive, but still sitting at 15%.
Yeah, especially in Fortified, these interrupts don't go out. And you can see they broke this second platform in half now, trying to make sure they don't have too many of these water blasts going out. But you can see them still casting here. They're just free casting, smashing by Kuxer.
Hamnelf goes down, but gets instantly rest. Boss goes down. They just need to take care of the ritualists now, and they will move on to the pillar probably.
And that's kind of the downside of bringing the double hunter over the double DK. 3-2-1 has that 3 melee interrupts with the tank, whereas on the side of Depletes here, they only have the 2 melee interrupts. Then they have the 2 hunters that have a really long interrupt. So they have to make sure they're utilizing stuns, traps, any type of CC they can to not have to keep interrupting that.
3-2-1 actually decided not to get the pillar to skip. I think they just want to pull all 4 pillars onto the last boss.
Yeah, if they do what we saw them do yesterday, they're going to pull all 4 on there, and they are going to just absolutely annihilate those, using them to build the stacks of Festermite on that last boss.
B21 now pulling the entire bridge. We know how deadly these 2 packs can be if they're not interrupted or slash CC'd. The Shadow Bolt are actually so deadly they can actually one-shot one of the players if they don't use a single defensive.
Yeah, just like we saw with the team yesterday, you've got to stay in melee as that tank with those tentacles. Otherwise, they just keep doing the ground slam, and they just do constant AoE to the group. But Sky did a really good job of staying in between them, making sure he was in melee combat with both of them at the same time, keeping those other mobs there. And 3-2-1 just absolutely annihilates that double pack there.
The Bleed's dealing with the first boss. They popped Bloodlust eventually. Still sitting at 50% onto phase 2 now.
Yeah, it definitely looks like they did a lot better doing this big pull onto Aquasur. They managed to get all their Festermite stacks out and let Cole get his damage out there on the boss, burn him down to that second phase. So they're definitely trying to pick it up and make their way back over. I do notice they didn't pull the Wind Speaker pack with it like 3-2-1 did, so they're going to have that Wind Speaker going into the next pull.
Yes, I also noticed a difference that this time, when they pulled the Wind Speaker, they didn't actually pull it onto the boss because it was already dead.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was intentional. It almost looks like they just built too many Festering stacks on it, and once they dropped that Death and Decay, the Scourge Strike just deleted him. Yeah, not having those 5 extra mobs there to build festering stacks on. They didn't quite burn them as fast as I imagined they would like to. It actually looks like they're going to completely skip Windspeaker.
Yeah,
They
indeed.
did.
Kusher is going for the big pull now.
And he didn't pull what was in the back of the room. He might pull it when he goes back in. Yeah, there he goes. He's going to grab the rest of that pack, do the big pull, try to make sure he is able to get everybody in that rune. But that first rune is cast outside the room. So if they get rune carve on them, they're going to have to run outside. Dim goes down. Cole and Hunter getting really low. Vikings are doing a really good job of backing himself up to that rune, making sure everybody can get inside of there, though. Hunter's Sabio goes down. Cole's still really low.
And here you can see the difference on teaming. In this pack that the Beats is actually trying to kill, you can see that there's also a Spiritualist that actually casted the heal and is healing all of the mobs back to full.
Yeah, that's another big thing. You want to save your big AoE stuns like Leg Sweep or Shockwave or something like that for those. Try to get some of those interrupts going out, but if there's quite a few going out, you want to get that Shockwave or that Leg Sweep to go ahead and get those mobs stunned.
Meanwhile, we have 3-2-1 approaching the last boss with 4 pillars available. We've seen how it can go. We've seen some teams, I'd say.
Yeah, and they're making amazing time. Killing first boss at 2:13, second boss at 4:48, and hitting Storm Song at 9:02. They are scooting along the Volzith here.
Amadeus goes down again. The Muff as well, Cole as well. This looks like a wipe for Deplete.
Yeah, I'd say they're going to be looking to try to take the rest of this slow, run their time out a little bit, and prepare themselves for this Atal that they're going to be going into on map 2. They need 3-2-1 to make one mistake here, get a good wipe in. But 3-2-1 just showing they're not looking to make that happen at all. They jumped straight into Volzith. They had all the eels there, and they're just letting those DKs do work.
One pillar is already down. Almost instantly deleted. Second goes down as well, even before phase 2 takes place. They did a really good job just killing the Fear guy and also the Spider so that they have nothing else to worry about as long as the tank keeps moving and they avoid all the purple puddles on the ground. Flop goes down as well. Now we only have the tank guy. And Sky goes down!
Oh no, Sky goes down!
I don't know if they actually
can
recover.
They can't get that B-res. They gotta wait until they come out of there.
This is all on Squash, because with this taunt, with this spat, he can actually avoid all the damage from the tank guy until they manage to get a rest on Sky. But if they don't, that's totally smells like a wipe.
Yeah, they gotta stall as much as they can. All 3 of those, taunting as well as Squash, pet taunting, trying to keep them off the healer there. And then once they down those denizens, just come on out, get that B-res really fast and try to pick up from there. They got the B-res off.
Bull's sitting at 58%, but Whippy doesn't actually have the damaging buff.
Yeah, not having Sky in there, definitely needed to cleanse that. That was a really good, audible, quick play on Whippy. And now they just got to get Sky to build up some of that rage and build up his ignore pain and shield block and jump straight into Volzith and try to burn him as fast as they can.
They still have a chance on killing it into this phase, but without the damage from Whippy, I don't know actually if they can do it. Boss already at 30% energy, but actually low in HP at 35.
Yeah, they're doing a great job of keeping burning him. The only problem is now they're not going to have those extra eels and those last 2 pillars to feed that Vestermite on him like they did yesterday.
The Blitz having a hard time on the pack before second boss on top of the boss. Amadeus goes down, Cole as well. Kusher is really close to death and he actually dies.
Yeah, and that's going to spell one more wipe for them.
3-2-1 with Volt sit at 10%, 90% energy. Looks like they can make it since the cast is also going to be a long one. And they actually made it.
There it is.
3-2-1 gets the win on Shrine of the Storms.
Yeah, and that was an absolutely great play by Whippy and all three of their DPS there, making sure they could go ahead, get those ads down, kite them around, taunting them and everything, and just making sure that once they got out, they got that B-res and just recovered.
Next up will be Atal'Dazar. This was a really fast run. Wasn't even expected to be this fast.
I was kind of looking at it with 3-2-1. Like I said, they did amazing with their time trials. They had a really fast time trials time. They also showed us yesterday in this 21 that they were ready to come out here and prove that they want to be the best.
And they did. They totally did. Both teams now getting ready for Atal'Dazar. You can see the Bleeds already stepped into the dungeon, just waiting for 3-2-1. And 3-2-1 just stepped in, they got all the characters ready, just waiting for the signal.
All right, these teams are getting their keys in, they're getting ready to run this next dungeon, and they're ready to just press on and keep it going. They are fighting for this grand finals position. Keep in mind, everyone, that even if they don't make it past this point right here, the loser is still going to go down into that bottom bracket and have a chance to come back in the grand finals.
And they actually started. Both teams
see a different strat from the Bleeds here.
They're taking two different paths. One goes left and the other goes right for some reason. We don't know which path's gonna be best for this dungeon. We're just gonna sit and wait.
It looks like the Bleeds is taking more of a push route for this one, trying to take the safe route, go right, work their way to Volcall, and then down around to Priestess, whereas 3-2-1's taking the quick MDI route we usually see. They go left, take out that pack, work their way across, and just do those skips on the way to Volcall.
Yeah, indeed. As we can see, also, the Bleeds didn't even pop their Bloodlust onto this pack. They're probably saving it for the boss.
It almost looks like the Bleeds just grabbed that for extra percentage, like they're going to do another skip somewhere later off.
3-2-1 pulling the ads right before the Priestess. They're not pulling the Priestess because otherwise she would bolster so much that it would be impossible to kill her, but the moment these ads die, they will probably be super ready just to pull her. Kusher's damage is really high right now.
Yeah, you get that Twilight Dev going off. They get those stomps going off, and it's just the Prot Warrior during BFA could do some amazing damage with that Thunderclap and Twilight Dev. Amadeus getting really low here. It didn't look like Bikuxer got aggro on all of those. Bikuxer and Amadeus both going straight down to 4 stacks of Grievous. They get up top. Amadeus still hasn't done his Shadow Meld. It's on cooldown. It looks like they're going to have to battle res him and come back.
He got targeted by the Ogre and firebolted him. But they managed to get a rest on him, pop Lawless, and just pull the boss on top of the adds, even with bolstering.
That's going to be really dangerous going into this. I almost wonder if they forgot they had bolstering going into this.
Amnel's Hunt goes down and is getting butter rest right now, and he just gets up and back onto the boss, sitting at 22%. The boss from the beast just got 7 stacks of bolstering.
Yeah, that bolstering is just going to tear them apart in that intermission phase. However, they're doing a really good job of keeping that other priestess alive. It's as long as those hunters keep those spirits of gold trapped over there, having those 3 hunters, they can absolutely have so many puddles just to work with during that intermission.
Indeed, I think the only problem for the priests right now is that all the damage they're doing to the boss is actually worthless, since they actually need the debuff so that they can damage the boss. It has so much HP. B21 putting Rezan solo, of course no adds on it so that it doesn't get bolstered. Popping also the Raptor so that the hunters can get their resets and doing more damage onto the boss.
Yeah, and that Gilded Priestess goes down on the side of Depletes, bolstering Priestess Alunza even more. Demi going down. This intermission phase is just tearing their health apart. But they do manage to get her down. They go ahead and start working on that res and move on.
B21 decided to just pull the Raptors and also Sky Screamers onto the boss.
Yeah, with those BM hunters, they got to make sure they pull something on there like that to keep resetting these cooldowns, because I guarantee they're going to do some big, great pull after this and try to make sure they're just continuing pushing as fast as they can through this dungeon. So making sure they have 3 or more targets is a great idea to reset that aspect cooldown.
Great bolstering management right now. They just killed the boss on top of the adds almost at the same time.
Yeah, that was really good DPS spread on those hunters there, making sure they were trying to keep that boss around the same percentage as those adds so that they're not bolstering Rezan too much, because once you bolster Rezan, he's going to start tearing that tank apart. We see on the side of the Pleats over here, they opted to do the trapping the Sky Screamers and going ahead and pulling those swords so that those swords aren't bolstering that Sky Screamer. Just like we saw yesterday teams doing, making sure you get those swords down, because they die so fast that you're either going to bolster a sword really big or you're going to bolster that Sky Screamer to the point where you cannot kill it. It's going to pretty much become a boss itself.
Now 3-1 pulling the pack that was missed from the right side, which the Bleeds already cleared right now. Great job from Sky, just kiting the Honor Guard and all of the adds backwards so that they do not do that much of a damage to Whippy as well, because he's a melee class. He cannot actually stay in melee range for long without avoiding all the green puddles.
Depletes jumping down here, moving on to Rezan, and I'm not sure, but it looks like they're going to keep those hunters behind. for the same reason. They're going to grab some of these ads, and you see Bikooks are doing it here. They're grabbing some of those raptors and bringing them back to the stairs to let those hunters kind of reset their cooldowns.
Rezan still sitting at 80% for depletes. They're very far behind right now. They need to find a way to catch up. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like that 3-1 is actually skipping almost all of the pillars.
Yeah, I think they're going to do what they did yesterday. They're going to pull those 4 on the last boss and burn them down. It's also important to note, again, they're skipping those honor guards right before Volcall here. Those are a very dangerous pack to pull on Fortified especially, but at a high key and at bolstering, it's really dangerous, especially because you cannot kill them until you take out their totem. So if you don't take out that totem, they're just going to get bolstered and bolstered and bolstered and make it even harder to kill.
All 3 totems go down for 3-1 and boss enters phase 2.
Yeah, that's just another great show by these hunters. They know what they're doing. They've done the work, done the research, practiced and practiced. This whole team doing great, showing they know how to bring these bosses down, and they're trying to make their way into those grand finals.
Or to mention the Grievous right now, one single tick from the green Patos is really gonna hit hard, and having Grievous not topped out, it's really gonna be hard for Whippy to just heal it through.
Absolutely, and it's important to note that this isn't Shadowlands, so that Grievous doesn't go away until you hit 90% health, so Whippy has to work really hard to get your health up as fast as he can. And for the most part in this dungeon, he's done a great job of it.
The Fleet's dealing with the Swords. They're almost 10 stacks faster. If they hit one single player, it's pretty much going to be a one-shot.
Yeah, and that's the dangerous part about these swords that we were talking about. They get bolstered, they die so fast that you can bolster a few of them really quick. And you got to make sure you're using those binding shots, using that Ring of Peace, and trying to keep them from getting too big.
And Volcall goes down. They only have one boss left.
So we see depletes here grabbing those swords, working their way back. You see the timer on that trap. They went ahead and reset it, went over and trapped and paralyzed that other Sky Screamer and grabbed the rest of those swords. They do not want to bolster a Sky Screamer, but they're not being careful here. They got these first pack of swords getting really low before the second one even gets in here. They can absolutely bolster this second pack of swords really fast and possibly cause a wipe there. And there it is. We see Cole and Demi going down from that leap from those swords. They've got to make sure they are using that binding shot and trying to make sure they evenly kill these.
In the meantime, 3-1 still trying to kill the pack under the stairs, which is taking longer than expected. They're not being able to stun / CC the shield bearers.
So we see depletes here, waiting on everybody to come back, waiting on them to go ahead and get their health up, get their buffs up. They got to let that Sky Screamer reset with that Shadow Meld so that they can start moving on.
If it goes down, Sky goes down as well. They have to release because unless they want to use a battle res, they have no other way to go back there. And they are battle resing Whippy right now.
We see an Invis pot coming out here from Sky. They already used that pillar, used that pull away to try to skip ahead, and they don't want to kill it because they want to try to kill all 4 on that last boss. They're going ahead and getting their percentage before they move up so they don't have to come back down and grab anything else.
And 3-1 is onto the maze now, even while pulling the swords as well. they still need some percentage so that the 4 pillars will actually be enough onto the last boss.
And this part right here is really straightforward. It's simple, just left and right, dodge these spiders. But as we saw yesterday, if you miss step 1, then you step in that spider and it's just going to immediately take you down.
Last boss being pulled for 3, 2, 1. All 4 pillars spawning right now. They pop Bloodlust. This is really a scary boss with 4 pillars.
Yeah, having this small room right here, like we said yesterday, this area is very small. Having that Blood of the Corruptor go out, having that circle, that smash from Urgroth, and they've got to make sure they're downing these pillar bosses as fast as they can so they can safely work on Yasma. On the side of the Pleats here, Hunter Tavia goes down. They manage to get him back up. They're pushing into here, trying to get to Volcall, but they've got to be more careful because they cannot afford too many deaths here.
3, 2, 1 getting rid of the most dangerous pillars such as the Spider and the Fear guy, and now it's only up to the Blob and the Tank guy. Shouldn't be such of a big issue for Hunters, since they're all ranged. They shouldn't have any sort of issues both for the Blob and for Urgroth.
We see the Way of the Crane go out there for Whippy. He's doing an amazing job making sure everyone stays up. Anytime they get hurt by something, he's just showing he really knows what to do with this healer, and he's been doing it for a while.
Beats pulling Volcall while 3, 2, 1 only has one single lieutenant to kill before boss dies, but I think boss is gonna die even sooner. Almost. Boss sitting at 8%.
They have so many spiders going out right now, and Sky's doing a really good job of cutting the boss around to make sure he and Whippy don't step in any of them, and they get Yasma down, moving on to those grand finals.
Indeed, 3, 2, 1 managed to go till grand finals. Now we're just waiting to see what's gonna happen in the lower brackets. Because as we know, the Pleats will have their second chance against the 12 IQ Rabbit now in a Waycrest manner. Gonna give them some time to prepare and swap characters. A really good run from the 3, 2, 1. I'm pretty sure if it wasn't for those 2 deaths, just trying to skip those ads and Sky having to use the Invis pod, that would have been almost a flawless run.
Yeah, it's like I said from the start, these guys are really showing that they've put in the work. They want this so bad. They have done so much practice, worked on these routes to perfect them. And even with the small mistakes, the couple deaths here and there, or the one wipe, they really know how to recover and bring themselves back to it for the win.
So keep in mind, these 3 teams are getting a cash prize, all of them. So they're almost all winners, but of course the grand finals are going to be the most important prizes for this tournament. It's taking some time figuring out the strat to just use into the lower brackets going against the rabbits right now. Still seeing them swapping characters, trying to get the best comp for Waycrest mana.
While we're switching dungeons here, everybody, again, don't forget we have the Shadowlands server launching tomorrow. We're about 15 hours out from that. I'm sure we can get an admin or a moderator to post a link to the website and maybe even the Discord and chat, get you guys in there looking at that. We're really excited to get that out there, get you guys playing on that server. It's new content, newer, so definitely start looking at that if you haven't played Shadowlands. If you have and you're looking for the private server to play on, Firestorm is definitely a great private server to start getting on there and playing on.
We might actually see the rabbits going for a mage this time. Just like the last Waycrest mana we've seen yesterday evening.
All right, we've got our teams getting their keys in, getting prepped for this first match in the lower finals. And yeah, like you said, 12 IQ bringing out this Fire Mage again. They managed to win the Waycrest with it yesterday. Hopefully he got whatever technical issue worked out and he can get in there and show us what that Combust on that Fire Mage with that Mastery Corruption can do.
Teams are now starting. As a reminder, we have Raging and Explosive on top of a Tyrannical Waycrest Miner. That's a really important affix for Waycrest Miner. Mostly on these bosses such as the Witches, which will take a long time. Both teams pulling all of the ads, both from the entrance and from top of the stairs. Popping Bloodlust onto Solena and trying to make her reach 50% as soon as possible.
Yeah, we see Cole here getting almost to 2 million DPS, but also on the side of 12 IQ here, Pioneer on that BM Hunter hitting about 1.5 million. That is still very impressive for a BM Hunter to be competing with that unholy DK damage in BFA.
Indeed, they just pulled so many ads that Pioneer just managed to get all the damage onto them.
It looks like 12 IQ is going to go ahead and get that first sister down, where on the side here of Depletes, they've only got each of them to close to 50%.
They have to make sure that these interrupts go through, otherwise they're just gonna have so much damage onto the party. The Malady Sister goes down for the rabbits. They just need to nuke Briar, and it seems like it's gonna die so fast. It's already sitting at 25%.
One goes down, but they've already got the sister pretty low.
They couldn't do anything about it from that cast. It was directed to a DK. If it was directed to Pioneer or even Freedom Mage, would have been better with Ice Block and Feign Death. Even Shadow Melt for both. But Livable didn't even have Shadow Melt available to avoid that cast.
Yeah, and luckily, once you down those Witch Sisters, that door opens from the entrance, so you can just step under the stairs there and head straight with the group. They're going to pull all the way here to the Goliath, just like we saw the teams doing yesterday. But on the side of the Depletes, they're still working on one more sister. They haven't finished this boss yet. Looking like 12 IQ pulled just a little too much. They weren't exactly prepared for that. Looked like a couple of explosives went off in maybe a few casts. So they just weren't in position ready for that. So they're going to wipe, bring it back, and try it again.
And thanks to that, the Blitz seems to be taking the advantage now, pulling the whole graveyard onto the boss.
Explosive goes out there for depletes. They've got to make sure those hunters are paying attention to those. Like I said yesterday, a kill command, a Cobra shot or two, you can take out those explosives pretty quick. You don't have to sit and DPS them down. The important thing about explosives is you cannot cleave them. You have to single target them.
Indeed, in fact, Frida may just pop cheap dash just because of the explosive that were just behind the boss.
Yeah, so far Deplete's doing a good job recovering here, jumping onto Goliath, getting all those ads down and starting to DPS this boss down. They're burning him pretty good, doing a great job managing those stacks on him with the fire and not letting too much damage go out to the group. Amadeus doing a great job of showing he's keeping everybody up and still paying attention, doing some damage.
The Blitz chaining the packs onto the boss since it's still sitting at 60%. They cannot wait.
Yeah, absolutely. They got to make sure they're pulling more ads here to let that DK, grab some stacks, and feed and absolutely melt these bosses. Especially on Tyrannical, these bosses are going to take a while. So the more damage you can get out there, the better. They have an explosion about to go off. Almost takes out Cole and Demi. Bikehooks are getting pretty low, but Amadeus doing a good job of bringing them back up. They're all getting low again, and this looks like it's going to be another possible wipe for these guys.
And this turns the game better for 12 IQ Rabbits because they seem to be handling the ads way better than the Blitz right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked like they just pulled too much out of that hallway. They had somebody run in there and grab some more ads to be able to feed that DK, but it looked like it was just too much. On the side of 12 IQ here, doing a great job keeping this boss down, bringing these ads down, and so far they're burning him pretty good. They just got to make sure they're managing those stacks on him.
This boss fight is taking so long. It's already been 2 minutes and 20 seconds into the fight, and the Blitz just started now. They're just gonna have to at least waste at least 2 minutes just to get to where 12 IQ Rabbits are right now.
Yeah, but it looks like 12 IQ Rabbits electing to do that same 3-pack pull there that Depletes tried and wiped on. So far, they're doing a great job of managing those explosives, burning those ads down, and giving Livable something to feed off of.
Indeed, great job from Livable just getting rid of all the maggots that were gonna spit onto random targets, dealing a huge amount of damage if they are enraged.
Yeah, and the good part about those infected peasants there, once they die, they drop more maggots. It is more explosive possibility. However, it is also more targets for Livable to feed off of.
And the Goliath goes down for the Rabbits, and they're now just moving on to the Ral the Gluttonous, pulling all the room on top of the boss and hoping that Livable just gonna kill them. All the explosive popping behind the boss, Pioneer getting rid of them as much as he can. Popping Turtle, he cannot attack the explosive anymore, but they're no longer spawning because they're all stacked onto the boss. And really good damage from Livable, just hit 2 million and got rid of all the ads on top of the boss, sitting at 68% already.
Yeah, absolutely. 12 IQ showing it's a good idea to bring these unholy DKs in these BFA dungeons. They can grab all these mobs, put those festering stacks on them, and burn them off for the Festermite damage. What do you think about this Fire Mage pick on the side of 12 IQ?
Well, if that works for them, as I said, it's just their own choice. Probably should have a really high burst when it comes to big packs, and they're rotating all of the pulls on top of him. Even though it doesn't even seem to be doing that much of a damage right now.
Yeah, I just don't think it was the right choice. I don't know if maybe he's still having those issues with it that he did yesterday, but it's just not pumping the damage that it should be.
Same goes for the Bleeds, pulling the entire room onto the boss. Having some explosive pop at the back, but not a big deal for Amadeus, getting everyone topped up. Ad's about to die. The Muffa really goes low HP, but gets saved by Amadeus again, and then it's only single target damage onto the boss. Seems like the rabbits are about to clear the third boss, sitting at 5% already.
Depletes has a few fewer deaths there, so they have a little bit more time to work with, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. They do manage to pull more ads here, trying to get some more feed there for Cole, but they've got to do something here to start burning roll a little faster.
Now Rabbit's going for the double pillar strat. Pioneer just activated the blob now, stacking both pillars into the same spot, moving on to the graveyard so they have more room to move. But the blob doesn't even seem to be engaged into combat. Maybe actually Painter just actually feigned death onto the blob, but Upheaval just finds a way, pulls the blob and tries to damage it down now. But it's already, the Orchid is already at 50% and the blob at 100. It's just gonna take more time for them now. They cannot actually click both from the start.
Yeah, it looks like on the side of Depletes here, they're grabbing Urgroth, and it looks like they're sending somebody in to go ahead and grab Blood of the Corruptor, bring them out so they can do that same pull and start cleaving this down. No, it looks like they're just going to take Urgroth. They haven't even popped Blood of the Corruptor. They might be saving him to take him downstairs.
Definitely popping the Blood of Corruptor onto the last boss doesn't even seem like a worthy idea. It looks really risky, but if that's their play, we're just gonna have to sit and watch.
Yeah, of all the ones we've seen, I'd say Waycrest last boss is the most dangerous to have Blood of the Corruptor. It's just the smallest boss area we've seen so far, so it's very dangerous, but like you said, if this is something they've practiced, they know they've got it down, it's a risk they've got to take at this point. And as we can see there, it's as long as they can get him down, they will be ahead a little bit of 12 IQ Rabbits here.
Beat's ready to pull the ads onto the boss. As long as they manage to interrupt the actual the volleys, the bolts from the sister, they should be more than fine. They pulled the another sister.
Absolutely. Like you said, the big thing here is those interrupts. It is raging, so if those mobs get raged, they're going to start slapping everybody with those casts. They manage to burn them down. They don't get a lot of feed on Cole there, but Hunter Tabio really burning those ads and being able to pump that single target into this boss. Like we said yesterday, as long as that tank is spell reflecting every other one, he can pump some big spell reflect damage back at Lord Waycrest here because it is tyrannical, so Lord Waycrest casts are already doing a lot of damage.
Blitz already have the second health transfer from Lady Waycrest, while the Rabbits are still on the first one.
Yeah, the winner of this matchup, this best of 3 right here, moves up to the grand finals against 3-2-1 and depletes. Even after that issue they had earlier in those few deaths, they really want to get back up there and make their name in the grand finals against 3-2-1 in that rematch.
Yeah, probably having the blood on top of the last boss was the smartest choice, just to get a little bit more time and get ahead of the Rabbits, but we still don't know if it's worth it and if they're ever gonna pull it out.
Yeah, like I said before, it's a great idea if they know they can do it, and it's saving them so much time not pulling them both at the same time if they can go ahead and get this last boss burned down fast. Depletes done with the 2 Waycrest boss and working their way down, shadow melding these ads off, looking like they don't want to pull them on the boss. They do have 3 pillars, so it's still going to be enough percentage as long as they can get those interrupts on Gorak Tool and the Void Weaver while still managing to burn those ads down.
Amadeus pops Crane and manages to get the Melfa up and again and again. It's just getting a lot of damage while trying to interrupt the spider. Also, they also have to bait the puddles from the blood. That's the only difference from the Rabbits and the Pleats, that one single mechanic.
Yeah, so far, Deplete's doing a good job burning those ads down, getting those interrupts to make sure nobody gets hit too hard. And 12 IQ pulling their couple pillars on the boss here, so far doing a good job of burning them down, but these guys are taking some hard hits, not stunning those ads. And it doesn't look like they got any interrupts missed, but those ads have got to be stunned as soon as they start that Death Lens.
Now that the pillars are all gone, we can see that they have a 40% difference on boss's HP. That was probably a good idea for the Pre just to save the time and just pull the blood onto the last boss.
Absolutely here, and the damage difference could make the big difference here on this dungeon. If they would have taken just another Hunter or maybe another DK, I think they could have absolutely beat Depletes here, even with that skip.
And they got the win. Depletes got the win. It's really a smart choice just not to get the blood before the last boss. Next up we have Underrot, which can be the last dungeon for 12 IQ Rabbits in case Depletes gets the win on this as well.
Absolutely here. The big part is going to be that second boss. They've got to make sure they clear that room and be careful around that boss. We've seen it turn the tide for teams so far, and they need to make sure that doesn't happen to them today.
Teams are already getting ready. Rabbits are leaving the dungeon after noticing that the Depletes actually managed to pull it off. You can see the Deplete's already inside. We have Underrot this time. Rabbit's taking a bit longer just to get the other characters ready.
Yeah, having Necrotic in here, this first pull is going to be really dangerous on these tanks, as well as the pulls in that second boss room, making sure they don't get too many stacks and they kite around when they do. Using that Ring of Peace, the Binding Shot from the Hunters, making sure they do everything they can to keep their tank alive.
See, both teams seems to be ready. We should just check on them and give them a timer.
Yeah, it looks like they are making their final adjustments, getting their keys in, and just about ready to go.
And here they start. Underrot 21, Tyrannical Raging Necrotic. We've already seen the outcome of this dungeon, how deadly it can be onto the second boss room. Both teams going for a really big pack. Actually, the Rabbits are going for double Matron. Having 2 stacks of the haste buff is really gonna hurt the tank as well. 63 stacks for Upheaval. He cannot get a reset, he doesn't have his spell unless he leaps away. Free the Hunt goes down.
Yeah, they gotta be careful. Like I said in this beginning, you see Upheaval at 68 stacks here. This first pull is really dangerous with all those ticks.
The Fleet's getting rid of the Fear Lieutenant so that they can skip to the first boss and not having on the last one. Both teams actually doing the same exact thing. Only difference is percentage. The Rabbits managed to pull off a really bigger pack compared to the one that the Blitz did, but let's see how it's gonna turn out to be.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea on Depletes now to go ahead and get rid of that first pillar. We saw yesterday, pulling 4 on this last boss in this dungeon is just not such a great idea, especially on Tyrannical. That last boss already takes a while, and those orbs can hit pretty hard. Having those 4 pillars is just too much sometimes. But Depletes, even though they pulled this boss later, they're already catching up on percentage. They are doing so much damage to this boss right now.
I can notice the difference that the Rabbits didn't even pop Bloodlust yet. They may want to have to use it in the second boss room.
Yeah, I think they're either going to do a really big pull in there and lust it and burn it down, or they're going to pull those ads on that second boss, and they want that lust. But in that case, you really want to lust that opening pull of the dungeon so that you get the use out of the Bloodlust. You want to use it as many times as you're able to, and a big pull like that at the beginning, especially when you're going to be having that death, you want to go ahead and use it.
Both teams killed the first boss almost at the same time, 2 minutes 27 for the Bleeds, while 2 minutes and 30 seconds for the Rabbits, both going for the big pull into the second boss room, both spiders for the Bleeds.
Yeah, 2 separate strats here. Depletes going into this boss room, I think, is a great idea starting out, because now they can start pulling stuff into it. They've already got some of these lashers and some of these spiders burning down. Whereas on the side of 12 IQ, they pulled some of that out of that hallway. They're going to pull into that boss room and start working on those ads. They're going ahead and getting some of this percentage out of the way. You can see that Twilight Dev coming out for these tanks, and that is such a big core thing these tanks need in this BFA dungeon, is some of that Twilight Dev. It not only does a lot of damage, but also because of how much burst damage it does, it helps them hold threat that much better. And when you get these dungeons where these mobs can absolutely destroy a DPS or a healer, you want as much threat going out as possible.
People gets the frontal from the Maggot but manages to recover just by using his racial and getting rid of all the necrotic stacks so that Oshigo can heal him.
Cole goes down, Demi going down. You gotta watch that fetid maggot frontal or get a stun on it or something. You don't want to stun it too fast with each other's stacking stuns there, because you can get that DR, that diminishing return. Too many stuns can make it immune, so they gotta be more careful with that fetid maggot.
The fleet still seems to be recovering from this issue in this pack with no wiping.
Yeah, as we've seen in that Waycrest Manor just a few minutes ago, they've shown that you can mess up, get a wipe, get a few deaths here and there, and still be able to recover and come back in a dungeon. And that's something you really want to make sure you capitalize on going into these tournaments.
One death for Rabbits as well, they just used the Battle Res. They're having one more Battle Res soon available, maybe during the second boss.
Yeah, 12 IQ pulling boss, but they don't have any ads up on him. I'm not sure that was the best play, but we'll see how it plays out. I think pulling on this would have been better for those hunters to reset those cooldowns. And we see that on the side of Depletes here, pulling the rest of those ads, the Living Rots and the Fetid Maggot, onto Cragmaw, so those hunters can multi-shot and get those cooldowns back.
Odds are dead for Depletes, but seems like the boss percentage is still higher compared to the one that Rabbits has, such as 63%. Moving on to the first tantrum for both teams.
Yeah, and that just comes back to that, again, to that damage Depletes is putting out. They are using those ads to reset the cooldowns so that they have constant cooldowns going out on this boss. Now that those ads are gone, it's a little harder. But at the same time, they've already had 2 cycles of cooldowns go out on this boss, so they just have so much damage pumping into it.
Fleet deciding to pull the Guardians so that they can just get some more damage onto the boss from Hunters and also getting rid of more percentage.
Absolutely. They're behind on a percentage by just over 2%, and they're about to make that up right now so that they can just move on from this boss and keep going. But at the same time, 12 IQ doing the same pull there, pulling those Guardians to get that percentage up and get those cooldowns back from those Hunters. It's a great move there by Melisuda, popping his speed pot to go ahead and try to get rid of some more of these ticks. He doesn't want more necrotic stacks than he really has to get. He's already used, he still has that Dark Iron Dwarf racial, and I think that's a big thing to note on the side of Depletes here, taking that Dark Iron instead of the regular Dwarf on 12 IQ Rabbits, because this Dark Iron, again, it gives you primary stat and then even more for every stack of a debuff you get rid of, so he's going to have so much damage and so much armor going out every time he uses it.
Third Tantrum coming soon, even for the Depletes that just had it. And no problem for Amadeus nor Oshigo, just stopping everyone up. Both bosses going down soon, but it seems like Rabbits are taking the lead on this. Pragma going down now, while the other team still has a 13% to cover.
Yeah, 12 IQ opting to take this pillar here, and they're going to try to go ahead and take it into this next room, get rid of it so they're not using it on that last boss. What do you think the advantage here is over one of the pillars, the Urgroth or Samrek, the Fear guy at the beginning that Depletes took?
I would say that Samrek is the most deadly one when it comes to last boss, since they do not have that much of a room to move, and if they get feared into the white puddles that spawn from the breath, that will get a really huge amount of damage, maybe even kill them.
Absolutely, that's a really good point. On Tyrannical, those spores and those puddles can be super deadly, and getting rid of Samrek ahead of time, not worrying about that fear on last boss, is a big choice for Depletes there.
Depletes going for the skeletons and Defiler pull, making sure the old double Defiler is just gonna get interrupted on every single Shadow Bolt cast. Missing one single interrupt on the Defilers while they're enraged is gonna cost their entire run. But they actually managed to bring them down. Melasuda sitting at 50 stacks of Negro, just popping his racial and going back to 0.
Absolutely, and that's going to allow Melasuda to get so much damage and so much more survivability there. Using his last stand there, but he still has his shield wall, popping his spell reflect right there. He's doing a really good job of managing those defensives and managing his cooldowns, not having to pop them too often, and that comes a lot from Amadeus being able to keep him alive without having to spend those other cooldowns.
Yeah, we can see Amadeus is actually saving his revival so that Melasuda would just soak all the mushrooms that were left. But Amadeus going really low HP.
Yeah, Amadeus still has a lot of cooldowns up. He's still got his Crane there. He's still got Revival. He's doing a really good job of managing everyone's health, and that also comes from those DPS knowing to step out of those orbs there, going across the room, making sure they get rid of enough mushrooms so that when it phases, they're not taking those stacks. And even if they do, he's got that Revival ready to get rid of them as fast as he can.
Upheaval from Rabbits now sitting at almost 40 stacks of Necrotic, but he doesn't even have his ratio to get rid of them, so maybe actually need a taunt from Oshiga.
Yeah, and he's got that last stand, but he's already used his shield wall. He's got Rally. He used his Psychic Shell, which is about to come off cooldown here pretty soon. But like you said, he doesn't have that Dwarven Racial to get rid of those stacks, so it's going to be really hard to keep his health up right now.
And here he has. Oshiga just taunted the boss so that Upheaval would reset his stacks, and now he's back onto the boss.
Yeah, and Melasuda getting up to that 50 stacks, he absolutely cannot get healed except by Vitality Conduit right now. But the boss goes down, and so does the ad, so it doesn't even matter. It looks like Depletes might be electing to take that Spider as well, trying to make sure they take it safe and don't have those 4 pillars. This is going to bring them down to 2 on that last boss to make sure they don't have any trouble, and they can just make their way to those grand finals for that rematch.
Rabbits pulling even more skeletons that they missed from before onto the boss, so they would just cleave them down with all 3 hunters resetting their DPS's cooldowns. And there we go, Zancha goes down for the Rabbits, and now onto the next faction. Still Upheaval sitting at 53 stacks, but he has his ratio just in case, but he can actually move out so he doesn't get hit and resets the stack correctly.
Yeah, it looks like on the side of Depletes, I don't think they wanted to drop that Lieutenant there. It looked like Melasuda was trying to make his way even further, but they just didn't pull their pets off for that DPS, so now they're going to have to down these ads here. But it's actually a pretty good idea getting rid of those Guardians, using those for the percentage instead of these worms. You don't want to pull too many of these worms as they put those casts out with this Conqueror. Looks like they're going to go ahead and pull 1, which isn't too bad. You can manage the interrupts on that and that Death Speaker there. And as long as they're dodging those Conquerors, it's not that big a deal.
Indeed, breaking the spider pillar on top of the skeleton was probably not intended, but
yeah, it didn't look like it.
Yeah, the problem is that when they get out, the skeleton is just gonna fixate on probably a random target unless Melasuda manages to get the aggro as soon as possible, and that's what exactly happened. The moment Melasuda got out, he just got a proc of Twilight Depth that gave him so much aggro so that nobody would get hit by the skeletons.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what we were talking about earlier. That Twilight Dev going out, giving them all of that threat from it, especially getting that initial aggro. It's amazing idea for these tanks to be running that Twilight Dev.
These are almost
It looks like 12
gone.
IQ is going to do that same pull, minus the Guardians.
At least moving on to the last boss, they have a huge advantage of at least 1 minute considering from the third boss.
Yeah, big difference here. Really big difference is Depletes is not going to have Samrek on this last boss for that fear. Where on the side of 12 IQ, they're going to have Samrek, they're going to have Blood of the Corruptor.
And here they start. The Fleets are starting and pulling the boss in only 2 pillars. Shouldn't be that big of a deal for them, since they have Blood and the Argrath, so Hunters can just have fun, move away from both the boss and the lieutenants, and they shouldn't have any issue with at all.
Absolutely, and those Hunters can go ahead and pet taunt that Urgroth smash on the tank. That way the tank doesn't take that unnecessary damage and can just keep facing these ads with this boss so they can cleave it down.
Also dropping low, getting cocooned by Amadeus, trying to reset his 16 necrotic stacks.
Yeah, he notices he doesn't have that Dark Iron Dwarf racial up. It's coming off cooldown here in a few seconds, but he didn't have it up, so he wanted to go ahead and pull away and let those stacks fall off naturally. But Demi going down, looks like he might have hit a Spore there head on. So they're going to have to turtle and get in there and get that B-res off, and it looks like they do.
Indeed, they managed to get them up and running with no issue. Nobody ever has risked their life since they have Turtle.
Yeah, on the side of 12 IQ here, they have Semrek down. They almost have Blood of the Corruptor down. They're just going to have to work on that boss and make sure those spores don't come up and hit the group. Depletes already has that first set of Blood Visages out, and they're working on that second one. And 12 IQ is still trying to get that first set out.
Keep in mind that the rabbits have 5 more seconds on the clock. So in case the Blitz actually manages to kill the boss before rabbits, those rabbits still have those 4 to 5 seconds to kill the boss, and they will still be winning this entire match.
Yeah, for sure. And Depletes on their way almost to that third set. And, you know, almost getting there already for 12 IQ. This is big.
Abomination going to the last phase, honestly, and sitting at 30 energy already, it's gonna be really tough for the rabbits just to catch up.
Yeah, for sure. Getting to this second set of Blood Visages already, whereas 12 IQ is catching up. They're getting these next ones out and starting to already work on that energy. That 5 seconds could be really, really important here. IQ getting their Blood Visages down really fast and getting so close to this timer. This 5 seconds could be what makes or breaks this round right here if they can catch up on this percentage.
Visages spawning for the Please. This is their chance to make it right and just kill all of the Visages and get into the grand finals.
Visages is coming out for 12 IQ.
They have 3 seconds.
It's going to take
2,
burning these Visages
1,
right now.
And that's too late. 5 seconds lapsed. And the win goes to the Pleats now.
They make their way back to the grand finals for that rematch with 3-2-1. Absolutely well played by 12 IQ, though. They fought up until the last second, trying so hard to get this map win and work their way to those grand finals for a chance to prove it. They still get that third place. It's not that bad, and they really did a great job.
And if they had 5 more seconds, like 1 more death from the Bleeds, that would be the tie, or even a win from the Rabbits. Now we have the grand finals soon. As I mentioned before, we're having the banning system for 3-1 and depletes. So the moment we gather the bans, we're just gonna gather up the teams and start. Both teams are deciding what dungeons to ban. They're trying to get the fastest dungeons for them and also give some problem for the other team so that they wouldn't get the best dungeon for the enemy team. Okay, it seems like Freehold and Atal'Dazar have been banned. We are not seeing Freehold and Atal'Dazar in these grand finals.
Yeah, it looks like between those two dungeons, it looks like they don't want to deal with the bolstering at all. And I don't blame them. I don't like bolstering either. So I think those were good choice bans there.
Now both teams getting ready to start from Atal'Dazar this time. Freehold is getting removed. Same goes for Atal'Dazar on both teams. So rotation will be Atal'Dazar, Waycrest Manor, Underrot, Shrine of Storms, and Junkyard. This is going to be a best of 5 kind of match. That means if a team gets to 3 wins, they will be declared the winners of the entire tournament. Others been updated with the bans. You can see the Atal'Dazar as first dungeon.
Yeah, this is going to be a big grand finals match here. It's a rematch, 3-2-1 into Depletes. 3-2-1 working their way all the way through this bracket, doing a great job so far. I mean, the first game that they played with Stomp, they had to take it to a map 3 and won those second and third maps. Then in the upper finals, they got that first and second map. They have an opportunity to get to Shrine of the Storm here, their best map by far, and they're looking to try to win this here in this grand finals, but depletes at the same time, making it all the way to the upper finals, having to go down to those lower finals and make their way back up here to the grand finals to prove it. They're going to be working so hard to win this.
I'm seeing that both teams seems to be already inside the dungeon now. Still missing the tank actually. Just gonna wait for him for from the Depletes. It seems to me both teams are almost ready. They're just setting up their actual strat. I can see they're typing in chat. Should totally check they're ready. Let me just get this done.
Yeah, just waiting on their tank to be ready, and then we will be ready. All right, looks like both teams are in their rooms, getting their keys in, ready to go in this first map of the grand finals.
Really looking forward into seeing what's gonna happen in the very first pack. That's totally gonna be pulled on top of the boss, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen it a few times already. This first pack can be really dangerous.
And here they go, they just started.
All right, keys are underway. Looking like some similar pulls here so far. They're both opting to go to that right side. Wait for those parasites to go around and start on this opening pull.
Seems like Depletes just missed one of the packs. We don't know if it's actually intended. Actually, two of the packs.
I think it is. They don't have that DK to feed off of it, so they're really just pulling extra to go ahead and get that percent and let those hunters feed those cooldowns. They don't want to pull too much since they're not going to be able to destroy them as fast as 321 over here, having one DK over 5.5 million and the other one over 3.
Really good job from Sky, just moving away from the Sanguine before the boss goes in upheaval. Really good strat with the boss with the going like 100% HP in a matter of 3 seconds.
Absolutely. These DKs are just shredding this boss right now. And on the side of Depletes here, these hunters are still doing great damage. They just have to try to make up for the fact that they're not running a DK.
Seems like Deplete's actually pulling the rest that they missed just to get some more damage and some more resets from the Hunter throughout the entire fight. But 3-1 is almost done with the first boss.
Yeah, having those DKs is a huge advantage. They already got all that percentage from there, whereas on the side of Depletes, they're having to now pull those extra adds and try to go ahead and burn them down, get those cooldown resets while finishing the boss. But the boss keeps standing in Sanguine a little bit. They're getting a little of that healing into that boss.
Eventually, the boss for the Depletes goes down. They're ready to enter the pillar and move on to the prison.
Yeah, 3-2-1 already in that pillar, moving their way into that first floor, kiting that pillar all the way in so that they don't have to fight a lot of these crabs that are these crocodiles here that will absolutely destroy them with those vice jaws. We see the rally cry come out here from Sky. He didn't quite get near Urgroth fast enough there on top of Whippy going up to open the Blood of the Corruptor. And they're pulling both of these lieutenants here through this hallway.
I don't think we've ever seen such a strat in this tournament before.
Yeah, it's definitely a dangerous pull there. Showing right there when Hum goes down. You got to watch out for those puddles. Also, having those puddles trapping you in the hallway, those tentacles give Sanguine, so you got to be able to get out of the way of those.
Underrot goes down again. They do not have a Batteras available, he just has to release and come back on foot.
Yeah, he's going to have to jump in the pillar at the beginning and make his way back up there. They are trying to get that Blood of the Corruptor in the position they want it. It looks like they're going to drop him here in this hallway and allow Sky to pull and get a lot of their percentage right here.
Different strat for the Bleeds, just actually pulling the Crocs at the very start of the prison, just getting the more percentage. Pillar goes down for 3-1 and they're ready to do the big back. They just have to keep in mind of the Sanguine, since they have some strikers that if they do not move correctly and LOS away from them, they're just gonna stand inside the Sanguine.
Yeah, absolutely. Depletes electing to drop their first lieutenant down there so that they can go ahead and pull all of this. This is a bigger pull than we're seeing coming out from 3-2-1. This is a really dangerous pull. That's a lot of opportunity for Sanguine there. Baiku's just going to have to make sure he does a good job of kiting these around. We have the first puddles of Sanguine going out there, healing a couple of them up, but they're doing a good job of go ahead and LOSing those and getting them out of that Sanguine. He's already starting to kite them out, and he's doing a pretty good job so far. Got a couple that are healing up, but overall, not too bad of a pull.
Indeed, they managed to get the strikers away from the Sanguine. They're just gonna nuke them down now and move on to the next layer.
And it looks like Depletes is going to skip Blood of the Corruptor. That is a very dangerous one to have when they get up there to that last boss.
Whereas 3-1 just doesn't care. They have the double DK power. They're just gonna pull everything and nuke them down. They actually managed to clear the whole room before the second boss, except for just one Arsonist, which is going to be pulled on top of the boss, of course. They just need to make sure that he doesn't die and Sanguines the boss the moment he goes into phase 2.
Yeah, great job there by Amadeus, using that Ring of Peace to get those adds that wouldn't LOS out of that Sanguine. But they're still having trouble with a couple of them standing there in the Sanguine. They managed to move LOS, get them out of there, and they're on their way to that next pull and the boss. This is a really dangerous pull. As we said yesterday, if these next mobs here throw that shield on everything. It's going to be really hard to burn him down, especially without that blood decay. On the side of 3-2-1, showing it's not a big deal. They burn those ads. They're moving on. They are getting to this next part with Jess Howless. They are really scooting along now.
So as we can see, the actual difference between the two teams is not even that much, and the Bleeds pulled the Crocs at the very start of the prison so that they could skip probably the pack before the second boss, which is still alive, unless they want to pull it now so they get more percentage and skip something later on.
Yeah, it's a really crazy pull. They're pulling all that at the end here with Jess Howless and Bobby, and it's going to be dangerous, but if they can pull it off, that's going to be what gets them closer and can catch up to 3-2-1, especially with Matt Nelf going down.
They do not have a bot res available because they just used it for Hamnelf DK.
Yeah, on the side of the Pleats there, they got a lot of Sanguine going out, and they got to make sure none of it falls under Jess. So far, they're doing a great job making sure he LOSs those mobs to move them and can keep Jess Howless out of that Sanguine. And they are just burning this boss down. They could possibly catch up here if they do a good pull next.
They're letting Bobby through the Sanguine, but it doesn't actually matter for them as long as Jess Howless goes down.
And on the side of 3-2-1 here, they come out by the cannons, went ahead and speed potted there for Sky, and they are pulling all these mobs. He's going to try to group them up the best he can so they can use those cannons to burn these mobs down. And unlike yesterday, they didn't use any of the mobs from inside for this cannon. They're going to get all their percentage outside.
Still don't know if 3-2-1 are actually going to pull the pillar as the Bleeds is actually doing right now, getting rid of the fear guy so they have less troubles when it comes to the last boss, since they cannot move, and having players feared into that will just gonna break everything.
And it looks like they're going to skip that Samurek pillar on 3-2-1 side because they would have to go in, go around all those mobs again, and they don't have a cannon to deal with them, so it'll be a lot harder. So they're going to skip him and move on to this next cannon. They already have 2 pillars down, so they're only dealing with Semrek and Voidweaver on last boss. That Semrek's going to be hard with that fear, but as long as they can pay attention and watch their feet, I think they can get it.
Only 2 ads remaining for 3-2-1 before pulling the third boss, while the Bleeds are... Seems like they want to do the cannon strat, just gathering up all the ads into one spot, maybe someone jumping inside the cannon and shooting them. And that's Atal'Dazar's job right now.
Yeah, it looks like they're doing the same strat that 3-2-1 did. They're not pulling the stuff from the inside. They're just grabbing these mobs from outside here so that they're not having to worry about any of those mobs inside being too bad. And they sent a hunter. Demi goes inside to grab those mobs now. And I don't know if they just used... It looks like they already used that cannon. So they're going to have to be really careful here pulling these mobs onto that next cannon. But on the side of 3-2-1, they are already on Knight Captain Valeri. And if they can keep this momentum going, they can absolutely take this map. Depletes is going to have to work really hard from here, get that skip in there if they're using it, and work their way to last boss to go ahead and get rid of him and try to catch up on this map. They do have the time advantage with the deaths over at 3-2-1, but they have to make sure to utilize that where 3-2-1 will continue and win this map.
Exactly. Meanwhile, there's the Bleeds still trying to get rid of all the ads before the third boss, probably using the second cannon now, gathering them up, all in the same spot, dropping binding shots so that they would never stack away from each other. The only issue now is that both officers that they pulled are just gonna keep casting, and they're not gonna move unless the tank goes and stun it.
Yeah, great job using this cannon so far on the side of depletes. They just have to make sure they're able to use that ring of peace to get those mobs out of the sanguine when it comes out, and at the same time not hit each other with that cannon, because it will do a lot of damage to your teammates here. They get all but 3 of them down. That officer's still at pretty high health, but as long as they move him out of that sanguine, they're good to go. 3-2-1 working their way already to Overseer Corgus, though, and they have 2 pillars going into this boss. They will have Voidweaver and Semrek. Very dangerous having Semrek on that fear. But again, if they can pull that off, this is a big win for them here.
Both teams now on to 2 different bosses. The Bleed still has to catch up a lot on it, and unless 3-2-1 wipes on this, probably from the pillars, I don't think there's a way for the Bleeds to catch up and actually win this dungeon.
Yeah, absolutely. Being ahead already on the percentage, they've got what they need. They're on that last boss, but Humnelf goes down. It looks like he got hit by that cross pattern.
They couldn't manage to get the interrupt on the Voidweaver and actually kill Matnelf.
Yeah, it looks like Humnelf just stood in that cross pattern, and then Matnelf backed up a little too far, and these heavy cannons here on the side clipped him on the edge. They've got to make sure they're watching their positioning, because those cannons will one-shot you. So far doing a good job getting those interrupts on Voidweaver. They haven't let one go out yet, but they've got to make sure they're keeping everybody alive so they can keep getting those. Also important to note, it brings back another one of those spell reflect mechanics. Matnelf going down again. He's got to watch that cross blast and the interrupts. They let one go out finally, and ticking him for about 400k was just too much.
They do not have a battle res for him. They just have to keep going, and boss is still at 70%. It's gonna take way longer now with 1 less DPS.
Yeah, for sure. And with depletes finishing Knight Captain already, working their way over here to Overseer, that 1 DPS loss could absolutely make the difference here.
I'm not 100% sure if the Bleeds is actually done with percentage, since they only have 2 pillars, and still sitting at 94.50%.
Yeah, they're going to be just under their percentage by 0.5. These pillars only give 2.5 apiece, giving them 5% for the 2 they have, so they're going to have to pull something at the end here as soon as Overseer goes down. And even with that DPS loss on the side of 3-2-1, that could spell defeat for depletes on this map.
Overseer Korg was dealing a lot of damage to 3-1, and mostly because of the deadly mechanic that spawns a circle on every single player, and the moment it detonates, that inflicts at least 50% of their HP, unless they use it defensive, and there is a 35% chance that within 6 seconds it's going to be cast again.
Yeah, and on the side of depletes here, they move just into a bad position a little bit. Baikuksha gets hit by that massive blast from the cannon, but Amadeus manages to get him up. He is moving to a corner now that those lieutenants from the pillars are dead, and all they got to do is burn Overseer Corgus down and get to an ad as fast as they can, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
5% remaining for 3-1, and they're just gonna win. And they managed to pull through the last boss with 1 man down. Atal'Dazar goes to 3-2-1.
Yeah, 3-2-1 doing an amazing job. still continuing to show that even when they're a man down, they make a small mistake and somebody gets hurt, they still manage to come back from it, correct themselves, make a great recovery, and keep on pushing to take that map.
That was a pretty close run for both teams, except a few, not even mistakes, there were just few differences within the strats. Maybe pulling the ads at the start of the prison for depletes was not the great idea, and also not pairing the two pillars into the first floor of the prison, such as 321 did. They just got the blob and the tank guy at the same time. Next up would be Waycrest Manor. We just saw it a few dungeons ago. And both teams are getting ready, swapping characters. It was like 321 is already inside the dungeon. They were super fast. We're all hoping that the Depletes manage to just get maybe a better strat when it comes to the graveyard and the tree boss. Because we just saw in Waycrest Mine, it wasn't that quick and that clean at all. But they just got experience from it, they may be gonna learn from it. Just missing the tank for the 321 team. Only Sky missing, getting all the last things ready. teams should now be ready, just waiting for a heads up from Sky, and we're ready to go.
All right, looks like these teams are just about ready to go.
And yes, they're starting right now. Waycrest banner. Raging and explosive on a Tyrannical. Both teams going for the usual full room pack on top of the boss. Even the ads upstairs that didn't even bother, they just pulled everything. Bot Flawless trying to get Selena to 50% and moving on to Malady. Seems like 3-2-1 has potential lead right now since they're already done with Selena Malady as well. On the other hand, the Bleed still has Malady at 90% now. They don't seem to bother that much into interrupting all of the casts, since they have both monks that can actually keep up with the healing. The only problem would be Briard, since Kohel and the other DK, they actually have the Shadow Meld, but it's not gonna be for both phases, so in case the cast is going to be on the DK, they can only survive one hit. If it's going to be double in both phases, they're just gonna have to absorb it, maybe with a defensive.
Yeah, having these DKs here, just like earlier, pulling these ads on here, letting them feed onto this boss is amazing. But you see both hunters still doing a great job doing damage, pumping into these bosses. Both of them have a sister down, but on the side of 3-2-1 there, they're already 2 down and almost have the third.
Just like we've seen before, they're just pulling everything outside the graveyard onto the tree boss. No HP for all of the team when it comes to 3-2-1, but WP manages to get everyone up. This is a really massive pack, considering all of the dogs that can actually instantly die and empower the DK damage so much.
Yeah, on the side of Whippy there, only having to use that cocoon, no real big cooldowns there, and doing a great job keeping everybody up. The DKs and the Hunters managed to burn those ads down and put some good damage into the Goliath. On the side of Depletes here, same thing, burning those ads down, doing a great job burning into Goliath. Just barely behind 3-2-1 so far.
One trying to chain the pull even from the basement, probably getting all of the maggots as they can, probably staggering them up so that they do not risk that much. They still have a lot from the hallway that can actually be pulled, probably by a hunter. While the Bleeds is actually going for the pack on top of the boss full of maggots. They just have to make sure they do not get sped from the actual maggots. As long as the spits are on the tank, should be fine. It's on other players. That's why Baiku should just choose Rally just to keep Amadeus up, since he has 1 stack of spit, was previously 2. All of the team is going down from the boss. And
Yeah,
there
and
it goes.
All of Baikuxer's cooldowns coming out here, and they still didn't manage to keep everybody up there. Too many ads coming out at the same time. It's the same issue we saw with the teams earlier. On the side of 3-2-1, they managed to get all those ads down, burn Goliath, and they're ready to move on to Raw.
We'll be recovering some of the mana just lost of that awesome fight. They're just gonna pull everything out. They didn't pull the maggots onto the boss, probably because they thought it was too risky for them, but here they are pulling them. And even if they wipe here, it's not gonna be a big of a deal, let's say, but I don't think they're actually aiming on wiping, just pulling onto the boss. We don't even know how many maggots they're pulling. Look at how many spits they're getting. 3-1 is getting wrecked by spits. Whip is craning finally. As long as he manages to heal up all the spits within crane, they should all be fine, which is something which just happened. Hammerfont using Exhilaration to get up to 100% HP, and all ads are almost dead. They just need to make sure the maggots are finished. Since they're all in range, they can just cast spit and do a lot of damage. Tough situation for the Bleeds. Again, Amadeus gets spit and the Melf as well. He could not keep on the healing. He didn't have any crane or anything just to heal them up. Or another type as well goes low. They do not have a butter, as they might actually choose to keep going. Boss still sitting at 66%, and another fight pops out. Amadeus could lose himself trying to heal everyone else, and he managed to go through, but another fire. They do not have anything else. No Rally, no crane yet, and no cocoon. In the meantime, 3-1 is almost done with the boss. It's just gonna chain up even more maggots, making sure they do not spit on all of the players, just stunning them, mass stunning, and wiping them down.
Yeah, this is the continued issue we see here with this dungeon, is players try to pull so much onto Goliath, continuing those chain pulls, and sometimes it's just too much.
Now the fire goes through for the Bleeds, but Coil pops an AMS, manages to survive, and Amadeus stops everyone up. Only problem is Kusher is getting a lot of damage because the boss will eventually ramp up stacks. So right now it just reset, but if they keep going like this, consider the boss is still at 50%, it's gonna start dealing a lot of damage to the tank.
Yeah, definitely so much damage this boss can do, especially in this tyrannical setting. And 3-2-1 already burning Raw down and moving on to this pillar pull.
Oh, it goes down for the Bleeds. Now they're down to 1 DPS only. And it seems like Kusher wants to reset it. Boss gets a fire, stealing damage to everyone.
3-2-1 actually skipping the pillar. They're going all the way into the basement, skipping all of that trash with the Shadow Meld pull. And it looks like they're just going to go straight to the Lord and Lady Waycrest pull.
And here they are, pulling Lady Waycrest 3-1, having no big deal for the ads. Even if they're enraged, they managed to get all the interrupts on the Soul Charmer, avoiding the candles, moving out of them so that they do not waste 50% of the damage, and popping everything onto Lord Waycrest. Bleeds now getting all of the ads in the second boss room, trying to get their way through and making sure no explosive pops out, getting the stuns, making sure they don't get spit during the enrage, and hoping that Coel does his job as a DK. And the Melfin
going
goes
down there. Yeah, they've got to make sure they're being careful on this boss. They don't want those banquet stewards to get to the boss. At the same time, they need to make sure they're dodging all these mechanics and getting those explosives.
Each one is already in
wasting
last
servants.
phase.
They don't want these wasting servants to get to the boss. It's not a good thing. They want to be burning them, CCing them, anything they can do, especially in this tyrannical dungeon. And they've got to make sure they're getting those little ads down that spawn the oozlings when he does the frontal. On the side of 3-2-1, they almost have Lord and Lady Waycrest down and are just about ready to move on to the final pull here. They have a lot of pillars to worry about, so they're going to have to really watch their footing and make sure they're getting these interrupts and stuns out.
One actually probably performing a skip since they still have all of 4 pillars onto the boss, which should award them enough percentage to complete it.
Yeah, Depletes here pulling a really crazy, kind of dangerous move. Vikooks are running in the kitchen to grab some more ads for Cole to feed off of. And if Cole or Amadeus miss that taunt and aren't fighting this boss in melee, he can start sending damage out and wipe the group. But they managed to get that taunt out. They pull these ads out here and they got more damage pumping into Raw. Hunter Tapio going down. That's 2 DPS they have down right now.
As for 3-2-1, they probably avoided just skipping all the ads since they would just bolster the DK damage, and they just got all of the ads on top of the boss and the 4 pillars all together. They just need to interrupt the spider, which is already dead, and making sure the fear guy goes down next, and they just need the 2 remaining lieutenants, which are still alive but so low HP, but they have all the room to move away from the purple battles with no problem.
We got the shield wall coming out, got the fear going out on those ads. They're doing a great job managing these ads and getting those interrupts. They are just burning Gorak Tool, and as long as they can continue this momentum here, they take this map as well. And it looks like they're keeping those ads up just long enough for those that DK on Matt's side to go ahead and put some festering wounds on him and keep on going. And looks like Depletes is backing up. They're going to go ahead and go back to Goliath and try to get him down.
Really good damage onto this boss from Squash and Humnel Fund as a Hunters. They were doing really good damage. 36 million right now, 380k per second.
Yeah, absolutely. Their overall's looking great. Squashed currently sitting at 197 and Humnelf sitting at 190. Definitely great hunter damage going out. Matt now sitting at 352k overall. They are doing some great damage in this dungeon right now.
Boss already at 12%. It's about to go down. And that's a win for 3-2-1. No other way to explain it, they just played better. They're 2 out of 3, they can actually win it within 3 rounds only.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, coming back from those couple deaths they had, making sure they paid attention, watched their mechanics, watched the explosives, and didn't stand in any of those puddles from the blood of the corruptor, taking down those ads, leaving them alive just long enough for Matt to go ahead and get some stacks off of them, and so far doing a great job.
And they did amazing, putting all those maggots onto Raul the Gluttonous. There were so many maggots, so many things could have been wrong, but they actually managed to pull it off, and that's what gave them so much time on the clock. Next up we have Underrot. Team's already preparing for Underrot swapping the characters again. Since Underrot has Necrotic, they totally need that ratio from the Dwarf. can see 321's already inside the dungeon, just waiting for the Pleats to join them. And I can see both teams inside. We should just check on them and see if they're ready, if they got their cooldowns ready, and we're ready to start.
All right, these guys are getting their buffs ready, putting their keys in, and just about ready to start this Underrot. Map 3, moving into this best of 5. What are your predictions here, Meso?
I really have no idea, because Underrot, we've seen so many runs, but 321 seems to have the advantage into these dungeons, because we've already seen what can happen. But we still don't know, actually. The Blitz can still get their dungeon done and actually reverse the entire game.
Absolutely, and again, this Necrotic, seeing it at the beginning here, seeing all these ticks. 321 going for a really brave play here, pulling onto the Befouled Spirit. We've seen it pay off for teams in the past. We need to see 321 be careful here and really watch those Necrotic stacks.
Indeed, Sky got
the Dark
in the
Iron
trap.
Racial. Looks like both teams have made sure they got that Dark Iron on the tank there. Great idea from them getting those stacks out. 321 not taking Samrak again, and Depletes wants to go ahead and get him out of the way.
I don't know if you noticed, but they didn't even use Bloodlust on that big back on top of the mask. They even saved it for the boss. They had enough damage to bring them down before Sky went down.
Yeah, now working on Elderly X, so they are doing great damage here. These Hunters making up for the fact they don't have any ads for that DK to feed off of, and just absolutely pumping into Elderly Exa right now, downing her as fast as they can to go ahead and move out to the next room.
Bloodlust being popped for the Pleats as well onto the boss, sitting at 80%. As for 321, it's already sub 20. We can see there's already a big difference right now, just because the Pleats decided to split the packs, while the 321 just went for it. Went full onto the packs, making sure Sky wouldn't die, even if he got trapped, even if he got all the necrotic stacks, managed to get through with them, craned and cocooned. And first boss goes down for 321. They're just gonna move onto the second boss room. The Blitz still trying to get sub 20 on Liaxa. Shouldn't be a big issue for them. Game still on.
Yeah. Looks like they got the misdirect going out on Sky, pulling all these ads. Lots of ads coming out here for 321, grabbing those extra lashers. Those lashers are dangerous. As we've seen in the past, if those casts get out, they will stun and can wipe this group super fast.
The 321 are pulling a total of 7 lashers and 3 spiders. That's really deadly if you do not manage to interrupt, such as Squash, which is being CC'd. But now we have 3 going on Sky, Hamnafant and Squash. If they do not get away, they can get killed, since there is also Raging. The moment the spiders go below 30%, they're just gonna one-shot if they hit you.
Absolutely, and about 1.6 mil burst there on Matt's part, burning those ads down as fast as they can, moving on to the next one. So far, great momentum going in, and Depletes is going to have to really work to catch up.
Beats as well getting a big pack. Melasuda sitting at 50 stacks of necrotic, no problem for him. He still has his racial ready just in case. Amazing how Sky from 3-1 didn't even have to use his racial on that super big pack. Matt did a really good job on destroying all those ads.
Yeah, that's the big difference with taking that blood DK is he really only has to use that Dark Iron racial if they don't have the ability to burn those ads down or kite them around. And so far, they're doing a great job of making sure they're either burned or CC'd.
And 3-1 pulling the boss on top of the skeletons, just like all of the other teams. This seems to be a really good strat, just for the hunters, same for the DK. All of the classes that are playing this dungeon are benefiting from multiple ads on top of a boss.
Yeah, definitely. In the side of depletes, they're pulling Kragmaw, but they're electing to actually pull the ads from inside the room first. Go ahead and let the hunters burn that down, get their cooldowns up on this first pull, and then probably pulling those guardians about halfway through this fight. It's not a bad idea with those hunters. It's just a little harder to burn it down, not having that DK in there.
First tantrum going on for 3-1, making sure Whippy heals them up to full with no issue, not even craning. He has them up with no problem. On the other hand, we can see the bleeds. All the hunters already used acceleration before tantrum went off, so they're really hitting low HP, but somehow they managed to survive.
Yeah, on this next tantrum, they're going to have to be really careful. They still have Rally Cry up. They still have Revival. There's a few things they can do to really get some more of this healing out to get rid of that damage, but it's going to be a really tough second tantrum.
Both teams seem so close from each other. Without looking at the percentage of the boss, timers, percentage, they're just gonna be the same. Second boss goes down for 3-1. They're not using the pillar probably. Exactly, they're skipping it. They really want to have that pillar onto the last boss.
Absolutely, and it looks like they're going to do the same thing they've been doing. They're going to skip this first worm. They don't want to have to waste the time single fighting that one worm or waste the guardians on that worm. So they're going to paralyze it, meld it off, then pull all these guardians onto third boss. And it looks like they're going to go down and get some more guardians.
Yeah, seems like Sky just wants everything on top of the boss. All the skeletons he can actually gather. All of the skeleton packs have been pulled so far.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to go for the triple guardian pull straight onto Sporecaller. That is a lot of Festermite they're going to be able to put on there on those DKs. But at the same time, that's a lot of necrotic going into this boss here for Sky. We see Last Stand come out. He's already got the Psychic Shell on him, and he still has that Dark Iron Shield Wall coming out. Uses his Dark Iron to get those stacks off. That's a lot of agility he's going to be able to pump out. He was over 50, almost 60 stacks, and they are just destroying this boss right now.
Really good management of his defensive CD, since he also had the magic debuff from the skeletons, which does a lot of damage, and he was also sitting at 50 stacks of necrotic. There was no way to heal him. He just had to use his defensive properly, and here we go, he just managed to survive.
Yeah, definitely doing a great job. He knows how to play this Prot Warrior. He knows these dungeons. He knows where he needs to use those defensives, and he keeps them for when he really needs them. Avatar coming out, trying to pump a little more damage into this boss here to help him out, and they're already sub 50%. They're moving quick. We see Depletes here getting to Sporecaller, but Demi goes down.
Let me get stressed right now, while you can also see the damage from 3-1. Magna of DK is rocking the damage chart. That's probably why they're getting all of that advantage both on both bosses. Malasuda is sitting at 45 stacks on the Crocodile. He has no way to reset unless Amadeus taunts, which is exactly what he's doing right now. They still have a few mushrooms that didn't pop, but Amadeus gets them up with Revival, dispelling everyone. Coil Hunter goes down, he gets destroyed from probably a frontal from the boss. Actually no, it was just getting the debuff. Couldn't move out.
He did take a shockwave there. It looks like just the edge of it clipped him, but he also had those decaying spores. He had the double stack, then another one stacked on top of it with an Eye of Corruption stacking on top of it. So he had a lot going on there. That just goes to one of those things. You got to make sure you watch your footing here. These mechanics on Tyrannical will destroy you if you're not watching your footing. And that right there with that death just proves it. With 3-2-1 moving on, they're going to grab this spider pillar and make their way, trying to get to this last boss quick.
Looks like the beast doesn't even have a Butterus available for Kohel, so they have to just kill the boss now from 25% with 1 DPS down. It's gonna take way longer than expected.
Yeah, they're gonna have to really hope for something to go wrong here for 3-2-1 if they expect to catch up. Spore Collar still has a lot of health to go through on this Tyrannical and nothing to feed off of. They've already pulled all these Guardians.
Sancha's sitting at 8% now, almost dead, while 3-1 though is really so fast and way ahead of them. Almost onto the last boss, just waiting to open the door just by killing these 2 Corruptors on top of a worm.
Yeah, Deplete's going ahead and getting Spore Collar down, working on their way to the next pack. It looks like they're opting to skip the spider this time, whereas last time they didn't. They grabbed it and moved it over to where those Guardians were. Looks like Deplete's trying to play it safe. They didn't pull those Guardians with boss just in case, especially with Cole going down. So now they're going to double pull him, LOS him up the stairs, and go ahead and try to burn him down before they move on.
Indeed, pulling those skeletons on top of the Spore Collar for 3-1 was such a bold move, but somehow they managed to do it. It's a really hard pull. Ballas is getting ready for both teams, getting popped on the last boss, of course. And 3-2-1 starts. 2 pillars popping. They might be an issue for Madmel DK since his melee, just because of the Blood of Corruptor. He needs to move away from both the boss and the blood, and the Orgroth needs to move even from the circle, the purple circle that's spawning right now.
Yeah, this goes back to what we were talking about. Samurek is a dangerous one to pull on here. Urgroth isn't too bad because the pets can taunt him, but Blood of the Corruptor dropping even more puddles for them to worry about. As long as everybody's moving, it's not that big a deal, but having Urgroth here is dangerous with those spores and those puddles.
Lawless expires for 3-1, but they managed to kill 2 out of 3 pillars. They don't even are attacking Urgroth. They do not care about it. They're just gonna destroy the boss.
Yeah, it looks like they're more worried about just getting that boss down. Again, the pets can taunt Urgroth and take that hit so nobody else is. Then they can just revive that pet. Nothing really lost there but a couple seconds of DPS. And at the same time, they can just keep burning the Unbound Abomination.
The priest reaching up to them. About to pull the last boss as well with 2 pillars.
Yeah, the big thing here is going to be that 15 seconds of death timer on the side of Depletes. Even if they manage to get this boss down, they have to hope that they do it 15 seconds faster at least than 3-2-1 does. But 3-2-1 is already on that first set of ads. They've downed those blood visages and working on getting those second ones.
Dollars goes up for the Bleeds, trying to get the Spider dead as soon as possible. That's way different. They have 3 pillars, not even 2. They managed to interrupt the Spider using Flame Death, Shadow Melt. Really good job on managing the pillars right now for the Bleeds as well. They have 1 more pillar, but still, they managed to just kill the Spider ASAP, no problem whatsoever.
And the side of 3-2-1 here, they're about to spawn this second set of visages right now, and that's going to be really big for Depletes trying to go ahead and burn them. They're doing a great job, already got their 3 pillars down, about to go into the first set of blood visages, but with 3-2-1 going into the second ones, it might just be too late.
Yes, they're actually sitting with the boss having 40% energy already. They're gonna pop the third and last wave of ads very soon.
As the first wave of ads is down for Depletes, they are just over halfway to that second set of ads, but on the side of 3-2-1, they're pretty close to getting that third set. The Hunters here doing a great job multi-shotting those spores and not letting them get too close, while at the same time using them to reset those cooldowns for them.
And last set of ads spawns, it's just gonna take a couple seconds and the victor will be theirs. Grand finals will be for 3-2-1. And here they achieve it. They've actually won the entire tournament.
3-2-1 takes it all the way through the upper bracket, through the upper finals, to the grand finals, and takes those grand finals 3-0. Absolutely great show by them. They worked so hard prepping for this. They pushed all the way through and did everything they could, recovering from any losses, and absolutely a great win.
Indeed, we're pretty much gonna have an interview for them. Really want to know their thoughts, and they really want to know why and how they managed to get all those ads on top of the third boss. Yeah, we're totally gonna have a chat with some of the team members from 3-2-1. We're just going to... They're still cheering, and we can even hear them from another room on Discord. Can even hear it from here.
Hello, hello.
And here we have Sky. How was it?
Pretty good actually. It went everything like we planned. Atal'Dazar went a bit bad, but we recovered and we did really good.
So how much work did you guys really put into preparing for not only the time trials, but the tournament dungeons as well?
Well, time trials, like last 2 weeks, we didn't have that much time to practice on the last 2 weeks of time trials, but when the 21s came out, we did, I think, 4 days of practice and like 6 hours in each day at least. And weekends we had 8 hours practice, and that's basically it.
Yeah,
Could have
really
been way
good,
more, but
really good job for your team. I remember I really wanted to ask a few questions from this Underrot itself. I saw 2 kind of pulls that were so dangerous in my opinion, such as the big pull in the second boss room, the very first big pull. You had 7 lashers, 3 spiders. You just had to make sure that you would interrupt all of the lashers and stun them so that they wouldn't CC anybody, because if they're fixated and also stunned, there's no way you can save them. Why did you do that big bag?
So we have to use advantage of the DK, right? So what our plan there is, we're binding all the ads and we stack them up. But then we have 2 hunters stacked up behind us and we ring on top of them. So that if the lashers, swarmers jump back to them, they will get ringed away. And we just cocoon Matt and just pray to God. We kick everything that is on Matt, all the stuns, and we just allow the hunter ones go through, and we just let the Matt do the job there.
So you guys had big advantage going into the upper finals. You guys had the best Shrine of the Storm time in time trials, and how did it feel being able to go have that as your first dungeon in the upper finals and quickly secure that first round victory?
It feels good because upper finals was really easy for us since those 3 dungeons is our best 3 dungeons. But I would have to say the team, the Please, they had a really good ban idea on the Atal'Dazar because they could have 3-0'd us because those 3 dungeons that we played, so Atal'Dazar, Waycrest, and Underrot, we actually didn't practice that much on those dungeons, especially Underrot. But we kind of went. We also had a small change on the end of the Underrot. We did a different pool, so that was pretty good for us since we adapted to that, which made us do the second boss a lot faster as well.
Yeah, you guys did a great job. Anytime you guys would have a death or a small mistake, we could see it. You guys would quick either get a battle res or try to do something to adjust, and it was very impressive. And I'm sure everybody in chat would agree.
I have a question
Yeah.
about. I've seen the Shrine of Storms, even your Underrot that you just did. There were some packs in which your HP was scraping the bottom. It was sitting at less than 5%. I was so scared about the pack that you did on top of the third boss. All of 3 packs of skeletons. You got the debuff on you, got 50 and going stacks of necrotic, but for some reason you managed to get all your defensive up and reset your stacks with your ratio and still managed to go through. Was it everything planned? Did you manage even during your training to do this pack every single time, or was it actually hard for you to train on this?
So we found an easy way to do this pack since we're ring, we're binding that. But this pool is really actually, we never messed it up that as much. So I think we messed it up once and then we found a solution to it ever since. But what we do there is we ring them, then we bind them, and then I taunt mass taunt everything. So Matt's pet, DK's pet live, so he can do the damage. And I shield wall and last stand on the pool. And reflect is also I can survive as much as I can. And the second, as Matt says, he has damage, I just dispel myself and we get instant economy. And then after everything is dead, Whippy just dispels the dot from me. It's really high teamwork here, I would say. We're prepared for everything basically. But for Shrine, last boss, we have some mistakes there sometimes with the defensives. Either like I have to pre-pop everything to live. And that same goes for first pull. First pull is really hard if the stun just doesn't, like the stun goes through and then they insta cast after the stun that can just one-shot a tank. But we found a solution to just use everything there as well.
Good job, really good job.
Yeah, you guys did a really good job. So working together, you guys seem like you meshed really well. You've played together really well together. Are you guys looking, if there is a MDI for the Shadowlands, are you guys looking to enter that and try to win that as well?
Of course, we're always planning for that. We're hoping, and we're also hoping that there's going to be a lot more teams practicing a lot more. And same as us, we're going to put a lot more practice in the next one if it's going to come in.
Sounds very good to us, and well, you're not gonna have to wait too long since tomorrow we're actually having the Shadowlands release in the morning, just a few hours from now. So we're all looking forward to it, and I guess this interview is done and we're looking forward to seeing you in the next MDI, which is probably getting scheduled for Shadowlands Season 1. So I'll see you soon.
Can you move Whippy up, sir? He wants to say something as well. If that's fine.
Sure. Hello, Whippy. We've seen you having fun with all those healings and all your defensives. Really having fun. Mostly in Waycrest. I've seen you just a bit in the need of a help, but you managed to pull through.
Yeah, man. On the on the pig boss, yeah. On the
yeah,
pool.
exactly.
Well, I did 900k HPS, dude. That's how good.
Yeah, because we've seen all of the team had so many speed debuffs. You managed to crane and keep them all safe until the ads were dead and your crane was still up. That was a really good move, good strat, and well played.
Yep, I got the strength to keep up with this because of my homies. Shout out to my boy Toxic, Lego, Leo, Thog, Golvir, who else? Miley, Fico, and Telnora.
Okay.
Those are the boys, and of course my team that played insanely well this tournament. We stomped on everybody, and it was really cool.
Well, that's really good. We really had fun with you watching all of the dungeons you actually crushed today. And
Yep.
as I told Sky, we're looking forward to seeing you in the Shadowlands tomorrow
Hopefully.
at 10 a.m.
Oh yeah, one last thing. Irrelevant is back for Shadowlands, and we are recruiting. So if there's any good player in the chat, hit me up, Real Whippy or Leo, and we will invite you to the guild.
Sure thing. That's good broadcasting. I'll send you back.
Alright, see ya, man.
Alright guys, this tournament was super fun. Day 2 was really fast. All of the teams just only had 2 rounds. There was a shocking difference between every single match. And that's what brought us here now today, declaring the winner 3-1, getting 5,000 euros now as a cash prize. And the Blitz also getting a huge amount of money, 1,500 for the second place. That's a really good. And as aforementioned, same goes for 12 IQ Rabbits, which are getting the third 12th place cash prize. And that's
Absolutely.
it.
Well played by both teams. Well played by everybody in this tournament. They took time out of their lives to come in and try their best in this tournament, and absolutely great games to all of them.
I cannot say I didn't enjoy watching all of the teams. Yesterday we had a really long stream, but I never got bored at all. All of the teams played really good. Some mistakes were made, but they never gave up. They managed to get back on their feet and keep going until the very end of the dungeon. And with that being said, tournament is over. We're looking forward to seeing you in Shadowlands tomorrow. And have a good night, everyone.